Skiddle-do, I said, bill bop. Skiddle-do, I said, bill. Skiddle-do, I said, skid out and bop. Skiddle-do.
Hello, and we are welcoming you in a Coffee Talks conversations with leaders in business, agile leaders, leaders who are holding really interesting processes, I would say, leaders in transformation. So today we are welcoming Jörg Reinhold, who is responsible for a lot of not only projects but actions and people in the transformation on a quite global level.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Jörg, for accepting this invitation.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we know each other actually for some time because I have this privilege to work with your team and support you in this context. And this is exactly why I so appreciate working with you and for your team. And that's why I wanted to share some of your impressions, a lot of your experience, because you have quite a variety of different experiences working with different stakeholders, so we can inspire other leaders that go under the transformation. If you can start with an overview, like what is actually the transformation that you are holding in the company?
Yeah, basically if you look at the transformation Wienerberger is doing, we are transforming a company which has been around for nearly 200 years now. More than 200 years now. We had our anniversary, and one of my tasks for the transformation is to build up a global IT and digitalization organization, which means we are, building structures across countries, across regions, across our different business units, and we are forming one global organization.
One Wienerberger
global organization to support and enable the transformation, which is the business transformation, but also all the digital initiatives to support that new business model. And it's kind of a profound change of our structure, which has been in the past very decentralized with very strong local organizations, which we want to keep that strong local market proximity, but on the other side, markets are coming together, organizations are working much closer together. So that's why we need to also create a more global, integrated organization.
And what are the key challenges that you are facing running the transformation, and the transformation that also requires a lot of cooperation with different stakeholders and stakeholders not only in IT, but actually you are touching people from all the business areas and all the business units, as you mentioned. So what are the maybe three key challenges that you face?
I would say number one is, for me, change is always about people, right? And it's a cultural transformation. It's not just like new structures or new processes. It's we are changing the core, let's say the core part of our organization, how we work together, how we communicate, and that has a lot to do with the change on the people side, right? And that's for me the most important thing, right? How can we support that cultural shift, and how can we open up the mindset for that change, and you have to also remember that we are a global organization, right, with very different local cultures from different countries, different languages, to find this new common language where everybody understands each other, not only wording wise, but also say from methodologies, definitions. There's like a lot of basic things. So I would say the people change is the most important one. Number two, of course, as we are changing together with the business units, it's also a big change for all our receiving organizations in the business units. I would say that's the second very important point. So not only we are changing, but everything around us is also changing.
Like one change in a system causes
Yes.
Yeah, like one
Multiple
drop
changes.
in the ocean,
Yeah,
for sure.
it's multiple changes. And the third point is that we are living in a very dynamic environment. So I mean, the economy is very dynamic. The customers are very dynamic right now. So if you look at the setting today, we have to do all those changes in a very dynamic business context. And meaning the organization is under a lot of pressure also to deliver the day-to-day business, to support our customers, to deliver our products, and to deliver just the daily business.
So there is balancing between delivering the daily results and also working for the future, right?
Yeah.
So how do you actually deal with it? What would be what are the things, the practices that support you as a leader in holding this responsibility? Because you as a leader, responsible for the whole team, and people and leaders inside of your team who are holding their teams and their responsibilities, that's really a variety of potential for anything actually in transformation. So what is holding you in a good balance, in a good mental shape, in good energy?
I think the most important thing is that you have to look after yourself as well, right? I mean, there's a lot of how you keep your personal energy level up, and I have to say, you have to be careful not to change everything at once, or at the same time you have to accept that sometimes you have to take steps, and some steps might be longer than expected, and that is okay. It should not seen as a failure, but you have to accept that you have to prepare the organization, you have to create a solid foundation. And just one example would be if you are 100% consumed by just your daily work, there's no mind space, right, to focus on other things, right? So how do you get space in your head to also work on the future? That's important, and that's why you have to prioritize and do less things more focused. I would say then to accelerate later in the process on the transformation. Otherwise you would create a lot of construction areas at the same time, and then you cannot really change the organization because it's not possible. So I would say the energy level is very important, and making the right selections, where to focus on in the transformation. Obviously you have to have a clear goal where you want to go with your organization, otherwise you don't know where you're going. And for me here it's really important also that you communicate quite open and transparent what we as an organization want to achieve. And you always like to say that clarity brings power, and I think this clarity is not easy. It's a communication you have to do over and over again, because for some people it's also something new when you change on a personal level with their organization, with their teams. But this
also, I think that a lot of people are working ages in Wienerberger because this is such a culture that people like working here simply, right? And sometimes if you want to transform the organization, people need to reshape how they think about the other, how they think about people who are also shifting within their roles simply. And sometimes this is you can communicate many times, but still we drop into those habits because this is a shortcut for how we think and how we act actually.
I like to use there's an interesting saying, I think it's from Jack Welch also, and he was saying if the change of the organization is faster than the change of the people, then we have a problem. And I think he's very right with that, right? So meaning we have also to be sensible on when we make changes. Is it okay for the people? The speed, is that okay, or is it too fast? So sometimes we have to, slow the pace of change. But maybe it could also be sometimes too slow for some of the people. It's a kind of how do we find the right balance? And you're absolutely right. Under stress, you fall back into old habits, right? And for me, sometimes it's this being a bit more impatient, right? And then you say, we have talked about it, we have said it. Why are we still making some of those errors? Yeah, and but you have to accept them, right? It's, you learn by doing as well, and by the change of this size of an organization. We all make mistakes, right? And that's okay to make the mistakes. We have to learn from them. That's important.
And what are the tools that you are using right now to support your daily work and also looking into the future?
Yeah. So obviously we do this, the event or the team event with you, which we have also done last year, which is for me kind of a check-in point in a very different setting. Where it's not only about our change as an organization, but also the personal change for the leadership team. And some of those practices we are also using in our weekly structure and our weekly meetings. So I'm really checking also with the team on what's the energy level, how comfortable they are.
That's one
with
of
the
my
change.
favorite questions.
I know. I use that as
4
well.
o'clock in the morning. What's your energy level?
I might use a bit of different language for it, but it's similar, right? So what is are you okay with the change? And you can feel it, right? We have sometimes there's a lot of pressure on certain deadlines where we have to perform, where we have to deliver, and there are no excuses. So then in that period of time, you cannot really talk about the nice future, right? You have to deliver. But that's important that we regularly check in as a team on kind of the developments and take that feedback in. We're also supporting that now with our change barometer from the transformation office. So that's also something we are now using in I would say to support the transformation, to get a kind of a barometer on
data.
Some data, some insights. How do you feel? What is it clear where we want to go?
And who was asked for this barometer? Who was it sent to?
Yeah, it was sent to the whole organization on a global level. So the central teams here in Vienna, but also the global IT organization in Wienerberger. And we also use it in procurement right now, and more areas will follow, I would say. But that's a starting point, because procurement and the IT and digitalization organizations are the first ones where we are now doing the change barometer.
When I talk about the tools, I also talk about those agility and agile tools, and I know that you've been using also some of them. If you could share a few points, like few practices from all the agility toolbox that are very useful for you specifically in transformation.
I would say for me the most important things we have implemented now on this agile methodology is number one is our product roadmap and description. With product roadmap, I mean that we have a clear idea and understanding where we want to develop our products and solutions. The second thing is the central backlog. It's also a term from Agile methodology. Basically, it's nothing more than saying we make transparent what are the demands for our products, for our solutions, what are the current projects, what are the current activities we have to do or are requested. So everybody, not only let's say my organization is understanding the scope of work, but also everybody around it, all our stakeholders, the business owners, so that they have also a very transparent view. And with that transparency, that's for me really important. Everybody gets an idea on the amount of work, but also the change impact, and then the team can prioritize together. Because if it's not transparent and visible, how do you know how much work there is, right?
Sure.
And you can assume a lot of things, right? You can assume they have too much work to do, but as soon as you make it visible, then people will see it, right? So that's number 2. And number 3 for me is this continuous feedback cycle in our projects, in our teams, and we are now really implementing like a 2-week sprint in nearly all of the working areas, meaning you have 2 weeks to focus on the most important things every 2 weeks. And we try also with this clear focus on the sprint methodology to, I would say, minimize distraction and disruption through, I don't know, additional topics which pop up every day, right? So we need to really focus the teams, and people also need to appreciate that in those 2 weeks period, we need to deliver something, right? And it's not about rediscussing new requirements or topics over and over again. It's about delivering something. And then we have another 2 weeks to deliver new topics. So those, I would say, are the 3 very important anchors, which are also supporting the transformation.
And I think dividing sprints into two weeks timelines, it's very easy also to keep the energy level, because then you have visible results and you don't have to wait for some nearest future to have the results, but you can be fed by really the results we are actually achieving, and they are visible.
I fully agree. It's like you get into it gives you a structure, and structure gives you also a bit of discipline. In a lot of distraction, in those 2 weeks, I have certain meetings every 2 weeks, and in those meetings, certain topics are discussed, and that helps to focus, disciplines the teams also, and at the end, you can say we have achieved something. So that's the success at the end of the 2 weeks is visible, and it gives also some gratification. And you cannot wait for, I don't know, 1 year before you get some successes out of it. You have to have it actually every day, where you say at the end of the day, that was a good day. We moved things forward, and so it's kind of I really like this mindset on saying, in a very noisy world with a lot of distraction, this gives a structure, stability, and helps you to deliver as a team.
I fully agree, and I like to have also the structure that keeps the discipline, and also you can have small successes and small celebrations. And I know that specifically working in the environment, as we mentioned, Wienerberger has its 200th anniversary. And there used to be different methods in the past that proved to have this organization as a successful one in the market. And right now bringing those agile, not only tools, but we always have discussions around the mindset. I know it's a little bit like crashing by Titanic with the iceberg. Why? Because like above the sea level, we can say, well, we know we need to change. We know that the old methods will not work anymore. Also, not only on the production side, not only on the sales side, but also on what kind of employees we want to invite to the organization. But under the sea level, there are always the belief system, the opinions, the approaches, the methods that used to be, and I want to underline it, that they used to be successful in the past, and managers proved that they worked. And I'm just wondering how to not let the Titanic crush the iceberg, but how to actually bring and create such an environment and such a discussions, so that, I don't want to say old school managers, but managers with really many years of experience, and you are still a young manager. I mean, in terms of your age, your energy, and also your liveliness, how it is for you to discuss with people who might be older than you, experienced, and they might be by PCM in different phases because we also use PCM as a profound tool for leaders. What helps you to lead those conversations and support everybody in this mind shift, not only the tool shift?
I have to say we have a very good culture in Wienerberger on using that knowledge from our very experienced leaders. And I really appreciate in many projects their insight because they know in certain topics they have a lot of experience. They also know the organization, and they know why certain things have been, as you said, been successful in the past, and that this is part of the culture as well, right? And how do we change that culture then is for me also transparency again. How to make it transparent, what we would like or what we want to achieve with the change, and then also to get their feedback in, right? To get them on board. And I believe it's by doing it, right? We have to do it together, and we have to prove that it's working. I think there's not just, you can talk a lot about it, right? But the impact only happens when you do it. And so I use those opportunities.
Promoter said.
Well, yes. I used to, I would say.
Thinker would say, impact works only if you have the right data.
Okay, no, I would.
No, we're just
joking.
You're right.
Right. So I'm opening or I create opportunities where we combine the very experienced leaders with maybe new methodology, new project approaches, so they can feel and sense it. Right? You have to experience it. I believe there's no shortcut in life on this, right? You have to go through those kind of projects or new ways of working, and you have to feel it, and then you can adopt it. And you don't change from one day to another, right? You're not. It's not like you switch like this and then you are a completely new person. It takes also time, and you have to remind yourself again and again on this change. It's kind of holding the transformation, we always call it, but it's about creating an environment where we can do first projects, pilot it, combining experienced leaders with new leaders, with leaders outside of the company, working together, and then making a first success. Really important. Otherwise, you talk a lot. You have to do it.
And that's exactly why I think what I really like to bring to the business is the statement that one is clarity gives power, and a lot what you said about transparency, I think specifically in the new ways of working is so crucial. The other thing is that if we have new ways of working, we cannot create them with the old methods. So we need to really look for prototyping, co-creating, bringing the diversity together, embracing the diversity and the diversity not only in people, cultures, but also ways of thinking and looking at the things. And I think what I really like to say is that even in the business, if you discuss serious topics, you don't have to be so heavy. You don't have to be so serious, means heavy. And I think this is also what you are bringing to the organization, that you have this lightness of discussing the topics on a very professional, high quality level, but also with this lightness.
Well, at the end, it's we spend a lot of time at our work, right? So and I also a true believer that teams perform better when they also have fun at work. Even if it's hard work, it's long hours, it's tough deadlines, and fun means different things, right? It's not about this traditional or perception on fun, right? To laugh and etc. But it's also maybe it's more enjoying what you do. So some people enjoy working on very detailed topics, in their own environment alone. And others are more enjoying work in a group setting, with a very lot or a lot of interactions. So we have to also create those working environments where we give diversity not only a name but also space. And that requires a lot of understanding and feedback culture also from the teams, from our employees, also on how they like to work. And that I would say, how do you create a satisfying, productive working environment? That's for me very important, and it's sometimes very personal. It's not something you can just prescribe to an organization. It's personal, it's team-based, and we have to respect also, I would say, different working styles on a personal level.
Somebody who created this work-life balance, I always say that I would actually, how to say it in a diplomatic way. But what I mean is that that's exactly the point, that you cannot really separate your private life from work, in terms of you are the one who connects those two contexts. So the way how we are present in the office, at work, the way how we deal with the challenges makes an absolute impact on the way how we are present home, because how we come back from work, it's just a correlation with how was the day. So I think that having this responsibility and awareness of how we are, and I think this is why we're so into mindfulness practices and discussions around not only energy level but also this focus and managing your attention. So a lot of being in the land where we are, also using the outside space that we can bring actually later on to the business context, and also have those small practices that can, combining with a business result, bring the quality of life at the end of the day. And I think this is one of our key missions, is to improve people's quality of life as Wienerberg, and that's also the quality of work. And it's not only employees of Wienerberger, we need to walk the talk.
And it's if I look at our new office building, which is also, you create a space, a working environment, where you also can support certain developments. So that's why we have, as an organization, quite an open space, because we want to support collaboration. But at the same time, we also have to make sure that when you have to have focus on in a quiet working environment, that there's also a quiet area, so that people can also focus and can be productive and not be distracted by noisy conversations and all that. So that's really important. But this is a working space, and that it impacts the productivity, the quality of work, and also the satisfaction of work. If you come, to work with a smile on your face, but with that's a very nice.
That you like to do it, and you like the surrounding, the environment,
the setting, and so that makes
and also nap rooms to be used. Well, not only to have them, but to use them without having this feeling, maybe somebody can have a comment on if I have enough of work or not, because I was in a nap room. So speaking about productivity in a new way, it also requires this shift in the culture and how we actually use the working surface.
I mean, we talked about it. I mean, you can be busy every day, every time, and it's easy to be busy. But then, to focus on the right things, to spend your energy on things which make an impact, that is the crucial part of our time, I would say. And this attention span, or attention for the most important topics, that's something we as an organization have to support and enable, or also in the working spaces. And then maybe a nap room might be the good fit for some of the employees. Others might need other areas, right? Like a cozy, meeting place, where they can bring also their own food, because they like to bring their own food. I mean, this is very personal. How do we create those different spaces, which also enable different ways of working, different types of collaboration, and satisfy different personality types? So that's really important.
Absolutely. So the message for you is that what you do has greater impact than what you say, and to really be sure about your impact, what you need to do is from time to time it's good to be off-site, somewhere in the nature, because you can really accelerate if you just know what is the current priority, what are the focus areas. So thank you, Jörg.
Thank you, Sylvia. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And thanks for really supporting us also through that transformation. We have more steps to go, but I think we are on a good way to move forward.
It's a pure pleasure and a privilege to work with leaders as you and the team. So open for learning, for understanding, and the most for understanding that the impact starts from each of us. So it was a pleasure to work together as well.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. See ya.
Bye-bye.